I went to the University of Texas and graduated. And then I was walking down the drag, and I'd always thought about Peace Corps for whatever reason. I didn't know much about it. And it said, if you want to join the Peace Corps, come in here. So they said, would you go to Kenya? I had no idea where Kenya was. I said, yes. So I ended up in Peace Corps in Kenya.
To go see Kenya and to Africa.
In 99, I think.
Right. And they were like, are you Jerry Locke? Are you?
Yeah, well, there weren't a lot of white people that hung out there very long. And I was probably one of the ones that.
So 99, you come back after 30 plus years of being away, and teachers come up to you and say,
well, the best story is the first story in that. I had not contacted anyone that I was coming. I sent a letter in English to a post office box that no longer existed, so no letter got through. Anyway, I said, let's go to McGruman's place. So I looked to my right, and there's McGruman. He's walking along the road with some chicken wire.
And you recognized him first.
I recognized him, but I got out of the car, and I said, McGruman, like, question mark? And he said, Jerry Locke, how are you?
Just very matter of fact, like he had just seen you yesterday or something.
And he looked, he hadn't changed much. He hadn't changed much. So anyway, we went to McGruman, we went to school, and we hung out with the teachers a little bit. He was picking up his kids from school. And then we went to his place, and then people kind of came over to say hello. And then I had a picture of an old man. It was a big picture, like that big. It was an old man. He was the only person I ever saw in traditional clothes. And he came by the office one day, and he had, a monkey skin robe and things like that. And he had a shield that I think was out of zebra skin.
This was when you were in the Peace Corps, not in the 90s.
Yeah, when I was there. And I took a picture of him. And it turned out that he was the father or the grandfather of the sub-chief at this point and stuff. And so they said, you should go and visit the new sub-chief. There was a new sub-chief because it was 30 years later. And so I went and visited him, and he said, Jerry Locke, I heard people talk about you, blah, blah, blah. And there was someone at the first school that did the same thing. And then we went to another school. They're really gracious people, and they're very nice and want to please. And, I don't know if he understood, but we went to another school, and Gail went one way with a group of teachers, and I went another way at this school, which I think was a high school, but I'm not absolutely sure. I went off with the principal, I think, only. I guess the big guy I was the big guy because I was male and stuff. And so he went off with me. But one of the teachers said, is that Jerry Locke? And he said, he was the reason, this is bullshit. He was the reason that I got a college scholarship to the University of Wyoming to run. I taught him how to run. I don't think so.
No, but you did give somebody a pair of tennis shoes.
But that wasn't him.
Who was it?
It was Michael Boyd. And Michael Boyd actually won medals. But anyway, well, where was I before you rudely interrupted me? I went around the country looking for a teaching job and finally found one in Baltimore, and went to an internship. And just as I graduated from the internship and would have got my own classroom, I went 1A with the Army, which means that I would have been drafted really soon. And so I went to a Quaker office in Baltimore, and they said, well, if you're willing to resist the draft and go to prison, you should go to San Francisco, because the prison sentences are the least in San Francisco. And so I hitchhiked across the country with my suitcase. And I went there partly because I knew that there were people in my Peace Corps group that were there. And San Francisco was It was not Houston, Texas, and it wasn't Lasso settlement scheme. It was San Francisco, the counterculture. Do you know what counterculture was? It's the beginning of the hippies. I got there in '69, and the draft had been in the first few months when I was in San Francisco. The draft, they had a lottery system, and I was like number 330 or something like that. San Francisco was a lot of fun. Summer of Love was a cultural revolution.
Right.
It wasn't so much a political revolution, but there was also a political part of the resolution. There was a real kind of uprising of young people, but mainly it was about Vietnam and being drafted. I had hitchhiked up the coast. When I was in San Francisco, it was my first time hitchhiking. I took my car to Sausalito. No, it wasn't Sausalito. It was the first beach town, the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco. And I left my car in a restaurant parking lot. This was the 60s.
Such things were done.